Oh, hello everyone, it's Shooter. Hey, we're going to go over some primary waves tonight, about 7 o'clock, flying by the seat of my pants because I'm trying to get out, going to Florida. But hey, please review our disclosures at the end of this presentation. We'll see if we can put something together. All right, let's look at GBTC. We have a confirmed high here on the daily, and we pretty much, I think we're almost done. But, like I had mentioned, I had some concern about a sell the news kind of event, which we may or may have gotten here, may or may not have gotten here. So our three here, realize, jumping out to the weekly, our three here would be very shallow compared to our one. Notice how long our one is. So, we could base around in this trend channel here for, we're above it now, we're well above it as far as the slope trajectory. So right now it kind of implies, the fact that we're back up above the 382 again, which is where, we put in our 3, came down, put our 4 in, intermediate wave, now we're looking for a 5. I would not be surprised, measuring 1, 1 is here, 3 is here, so, we could come like this, and our slope is probably more like this, so maybe we could push up to 35, just with the trajectory, here is our slope here, and then we've accelerated here on the upside, and that bell curve doesn't usually just end, in some kind of crashy thing kind of stuff. So let me just see if I can get bell curve where it looks decent. That actually, to me, puts us up closer to 38. So I don't always dig that out, but when you got a good bell curve, it's a good idea to look at it where, we should get some resistance. Now, what we do know here is we've got a pretty solid spot. Right now our count was, which is not the case now. Forgive me for drilling down live here, but that's, hey, I do that all day long anyway. When I am looking at stuff, sometimes I'm not, sometimes I'm bad and play hooks trying to. So I'm going to use, I'm going to get rid of this bell curve thing, all right, here. So I'm just going to use that 26 as my base and say, hey, this is where maybe we want to trim if it breaks below there, but I don't think it does. See where that number comes in at? Comes in at 26.37. So a weekly close below that would imply to me that maybe our trend, our uptrend is broken a little bit. So that's my thought there. Now let's jump over. Now, I want you to note the difference between GBTC and Bitcoin. A much broader down candle on GBTC. Now, we had some news, I mean, a number of different stories that were not necessarily positive about GBTC because there was just some rambling that the SEC was just going to stall again, and it got some playtime. So that may have been why we saw the bigger candle down on GBTC than on Bitcoin, because our range in Bitcoin, basically our low was 34,520 and our high was 37,971. So, what we have about a $3,500 difference, and GBTC, we had a range of a 2970 high. That tells me it printed higher than that, or maybe, no, excuse me, a 3005. So I was looking at the wrong candle. So just in that leg, and a low of 2730. So, we had $2.75 on GBTC. Now, comparatively, there's not much difference, but to me, GBTC is emotional. And, this is one reason, I do have some concerns that we have a sell event, once the ETF, spot Bitcoin ETF is announced. However many of them there might be, I think we get that push. And then once we, I'm thinking 2 to 4 hours maybe where we do a run, that back test and how we play out from there is going to be a big factor. So that's my thought on that. Now, I wanted to jump over and I wanted to do the global trend ETFs because we haven't done these in a little while. Okay, QCLN, first TR, whatever that is, next, NASDAQ Clean Energy. We are looking for a minor wave 3 around 3278. Then we back test to, roughly 33, 34. And then we head for our low around 31. So we're getting pretty close. And then we get a little bounce to about 37, about $7 higher. I need to step out in time for us to see our deepness here at 27. I'm going to skip labels if I don't have them on the charts today, because ultimately I'm just trying to show about where we're going, getting you a rough idea with the counts. Now, this will be a primary wave setup once we get down there. Actually, this is a primary wave setup, right? And, when I chase that, I always look for 50% back. So, this 4 could go up here and it wouldn't necessarily invalidate the lower count. So, like I said, that is a primary wave setup long, except for it doesn't look deep enough for me to chase or recommend chasing it. It just meets the criteria of the setup. And we've got this big squeeze going in on the Bollinger Bands here. So be very candid. I would not be surprised if we see $15. I mean, test these lows. With that, this is a pretty broad event here. And it's, huge euphoria on the concept that the world was going solar. It would not surprise me with how the Bollinger Bands are squeezing here on the fibs. So, all right, let's look at ARKW. So, okay, say that 10 times for me. That's ARK, Next Generation Internet ETF. Now, we're doing really well. We're getting out of this. Got back above that trend support line I had there. I mean, it's really constructive here. RSI is right in the middle. I think that 78 is viable from here. So, if you don't have some covered cash secured puts, good time to do it. I wouldn't even hesitate to maybe look at some February. I go out a little more further in time, February 65s. I'd rather do right at the money though. 64, 63 calls to the upside, because this continues. This will be one of the ETFs. As long as tech keeps buzzing, that will take off a little bit here. So once we get up to this breakout line and we get above that, it would not surprise me that we extend. There's certain things that I see when I'm looking at the count that it doesn't necessarily, or is not reflective when I print a chart. Okay. See, for example, I'm looking at this is intermediate wave 1, and this is showing as a leading diagonal. Okay, on our intermediate wave. However, our wave 3 is fairly shallow and it's calling for it to be fairly long. And then our 5 is going to be our longest wave here. So that would imply to me that we get up and out. So I would not be surprised if we push up here, really, fairly quickly. We could push up to 90, close above that 78.6. Then we're looking for our next set of golden boxes up there on the upside. So that's my thought on ARKW. Now, ARK FineTech Innovation ETF, ARKF, still bearish count here, looking for maybe $5 to the downside. We have not broken down yet. So where would I look at this as a breakdown from where we are? Really, we already have, but we haven't really done the lower side breakdown. My rule in this, I don't know if this is right or wrong. Truthfully, it doesn't really matter to me. As long as it works for me, you guys got to catch up. So, all right. So this is trend support for me. So we've already broken that. So what I'm looking for next is the breakdown. So, this is confirmation of the lower move for me. So this would be my breakdown line. Let's throw up a alert on that. So we see that. All right. So 1350, that's still quite a ways down to $5. Once we get that alert and that trigger, hey, that's what I'm looking for. Let's look at ARKK. That's, yes, Roscoe, I'm doing a recording. Roscoe Pico Coltrane. Stop. He does not like the washing machine. And I'm trying to be lazy here and I have my door open. So maybe I need to close my door, huh? Well, we have the door now. Hopefully it's quiet enough because he's not going to stop. But we need to get this done because it's about that time. So we're looking for 69 here on ARKK. Innovation ETF. We're heading for our breakout line, which, was our original primary wave setup. We have not gotten a weekly. We have a daily on the next trigger, the next stack, or the next step, as I should probably call it. So we got a daily trigger on the next stack. Do not have a weekly, but it's probably gonna, that still may not cross to up here. I'm just gonna call it up here. Again, the rule, I'll adjust that accordingly. But, again, the rule, primary wave setup, 90-minute trigger, daily trigger, weekly trigger, breakout line, you want a full position, right? And, one thing that the primary wave does like to do, it does like to back test. We need a good, solid back test, which is one reason I have a 90-minute, a daily, a weekly, and then a breakout trigger, because the average there, puts us in at really about $38 on this trade from when our first alerts came in. So, we're not in a bad spot, as far as a number, if you took the original trade and you're still holding it on the back test. So as long as that 29.43 right here holds, right, you as you were, you keep holding. All right. And obviously that back test is a place. It doesn't always happen. It's a percentage. I've never had the time to go back and actually punch through 1,000 charts and see what percentage of that actually occurs once we have the primary wave. So then our next target, of course, is our $69, right around 382. I realize our golden box is a little higher than that. So, this could also extend up towards. I always look for the 50%, especially when we have the euphoria the way we've had in the market the last couple of days. It looks constructive. I mean, we have a nice confirmed low, divergent low here on our back test. Maybe one of these days I'm going to get a muzzle for that puppy, but he's a good dog. Outside of the fact he liked to bark at the washing machine. That's his favorite pastime besides sitting out front and barking at it. All right, let's look at BRKB. So, the covered calls, they were doing some liquidations. Right now, I don't have the breakdown. So, I'm going to say, here's my off numbers here. Close is 358. So we get above, if you're still holding, I'm just thinking as I'm looking at this chart, we're 50% back on this leg. We should give something back up if we're going to flip lower. So I think I would scale now. I mean, if you have more than one contract, trim. And then anything you have left, cover at 362. But I'm not going to say go along with our 3 here with this back test. Maybe roll out to 390s as far as covered calls, and then you should be fine. Because I don't think we get that. Even with this look, I don't think we get back above that because it's our 5. 5s often do that. They come back and they try to break 3. If they do, they get a little above it, and then it gets rejected, and you put this flat. So that's just sort of my thought. But BRKB is a position out of anything that's out there. It is one of our modes. So, we want to try and maintain a percentage there to some degree. And again, it's also going to depend on what your entry price was. Your entry price is down around 220, 240, 260. I mean, I think you're fine just holding. So, but however, if you didn't jump in until we were at 340, I'm probably not going to risk it. That's my thought. All right, looking at BlackRock Science Tech, BSTZ. We came out a little bit. We overshot the count. So our first primary, which has now become an intermediate wave. Now this becomes a ghost print. It broke below it, but we were not there long, but you probably would have covered half. It's my thought. If you followed the rules. I have to think about my own rules. So this is how we make a ghost print. I just want to know my intent really isn't to track all this stuff, but I just want to know that, hey, that didn't manifest according to the plan, and I want to know what I'm looking at. So, this is a great time to mentor on how a bottom occurs reference to the primary wave and my interpretation of Elliott wave, right or wrong. Okay. So we get these confirmed lows, right? Which is, most of the time it's a stair step now. And I'm highlighting this because how defined our lows are. And I'm noting this, that actually this probably doesn't need to be there. So our confirmed low, then we have another divergent low here, another divergent low, right? And then we back test a little bit, ran up not quite to 60% on the RSI, basically put in a double top, which we really don't see in RSI. It's divergent. So we have a higher high in price and a lower high in RSI, and a lower low in price and a higher high in RSI. So what it's telling me is there's a lot of resistance right there, a lot. So that's going to be our challenge to the upside. So if we assume, hold on a second. All right. I don't know why that got deleted, but it got deleted. So I wanted my ghost label back there. All right. So our breakout would be, we do not have a weekly. We do have a daily pretty quick behind that. Trigger. I have to think aloud when I'm doing these videos. And this is probably going to be a little longer than what I usually have. So we got a daily trigger pretty quick off of that low, which is kind of convincing. Again, the RSI structure that you get, you have your confirmed low, divergent low, and then you get an overshoot in RSI. This right here, this little picture, take a picture of that, put it on your wall, put it next to your computer or on the top of your monitor. It is the perfect setup to the upside. Quite often it is a squeeze, right? So confirmed low, divergent low, then we overshoot, pushes beyond what is equality. So it is very euphoric to the downside. Very full, fear of loss. Everybody's selling because they're afraid of losing, right? And then you get these exhaustions here. Now, the only thing that I see that's not grand is that the candle closed towards the low, but it isn't a big candle. Yet the candle prior to that, we closed on the lows. So that was really our push lower, which is our break below our prior low. So I think we're good to the upside here. I think it's a strong looking chart. Our first primary wave target is 3374. We're at 1658 as I'm looking at this. Now, the only thing I don't like about these, when you have these aggressive pushes to the upside, see how the chart, the the wave count doesn't necessarily present equality as I call it. It's sort of distorted. That's because it's too aggressive. All right. So our breakout, where I would have a full position on our daily trigger, we're going to get a weekly trigger, is going to be above our initial breakout, simply because I'm going back and I'm considering that prior primary wave that's invalidated. And then, of course, I'm going to put my new primary wave label up here. You guys can visually see that. And this one, since it is a better looking chart than I thought I would see, we are going to print that and we're going to post that one. That's a good looking chart. I like that chart. So that's how I come to find those setups. I mean, ultimately, that's the way I like it. So now we're doing really, of course, primary wave setup, secondary primary wave setup, bounce right to the 50-day, rejected a little bit, expected. You know, it was also this support. I don't have the wick off on here, but our close here on this candle is important. Close is 91.09. So 91.09, I would expect some more resistance, but our target 3, now I've not marked the target 1, probably should. Let me come back down because it's primary. Stick with consistency. Do the same thing time and time again. And these counts changed so much this past week. Oh my goodness. All right. So I see now the counts changed since I was looking at that. So our primary or target primary wave 3, target 1 is 86.18, and our target 2 for the back test is 84.35. So, you know, I would sell some 80 puts here. I think you're pretty good right there. Or buy 86 calls March. I'm going to push it out to March because this might take a little, let me come back. Do 85 calls. Let's stay conservative. Maybe even some 84s. Maybe do a blend like 60% 85, 40% 84. You know, just make a little money on that until we get back above this mess up here. It's really not a mess, but that's where I get real interested along. We break above that breakout. That's without you. But this also has that similar look of a nice breakout. You know, and our cycle wave 3 is way up here at 101. So not as aggressive as some of the other moves. And I'm going to take a picture of this as well. And forgive me, I'm playing hooky here a little bit. So both BSTZ and EMB look good to me. Now, Wisdom Tree India earnings, EPI is looking a little bearish off of this 37.67. So if you're holding it, you know, good spot to do some covered calls right there. So maybe some 40s. I'd give yourself a little room, maybe some 38s and some 40s. I mean, you could do both, a blend, 39 maybe. Give yourself a little room. We break down. I'm going to put a target 1 to the downside is 33.50. Let's put in trend support. When do we actually, now again, you know, well, actually I did a video and then didn't like it. You wouldn't believe how many of those I do, actually. Not that I don't want to show you guys. It's just that, I don't know, I don't like videos. I don't like doing it. It's just me. Hey, so here is trend support. So we break below this $36 to the downside. That is when you're looking to get short. So our breakdown line to me is a break below this ledge to the downside. And at that point, I would, yeah, I mean, you could, you don't have to, you know, that's where I would add some puts, you know, right at the money, either do a 2-week scheme or a monthly scheme. In other words, you sell the weekly, buy the weeklies 2 weeks out, or you do the monthlies 1 month out, right at strike. So your strike is right at your price, or maybe $1 lower, $2 lower. And I'm going back to that same thesis. I want to stay within this 6-week window. So if I'm wrong, I can get the heck out and I don't get clobbered. And that's been very challenging. I mean, this week has really, dampered my view to the downside because I can't chase it with that much FOMO, but all the conditions are still there. The bond market still has a problem. The banks still have a problem. We still have the Israel war. We have Chinese subs surfacing over in the Middle East, 4 subs simultaneously, making the U.S. aware that, hey, we got subs too. That's just the kind of stuff that is unnerving when you're holding positions long. Because the wrong event happens, it's going to just clobber us. So, all right, then our back test is going to come in around this 4 at around 34.48. And I'm not going to print that one because it's a bearish look. I'm only going to print the positive ones today or put them in chat. All right, so we've got an intermediate wave. Let me throw this in here. 41.84, a intermediate wave 4 around 36.22. Then we head for our target one around 54. So our next entry long, I'm showing right at 27.52, which looks to be really good here. And we're back looking at we're eyeballing the 200-day. General rule, Below the 50-day, we're bearish. Above the 200-day, we're bullish, just in a general look. Now, I drill down a little bit further. Above 8-day resistance is confirmed bullishness for me, and a break below 8-day support is confirmed bearish for me. So that, I also use the 21-day, but not as much because I got too many charts rolling. It's a little hard to keep up with those three different moving averages, at least with alerts and everything else. So, God, I got 5,000 alerts now. So the breakout line here on FRDM is back over here. So we get back above this breakout line. If you did trim in any way, I would have a full position on back up around that 31.14. We're going to take a picture of that one. And man, IETC was a good move. I am sure glad I threw that one in. I was hesitant because I was thinking it was going to roll back over. That's been in chat in the global trend ETFs. I'm still going to leave these labels here. We had that ghost print we didn't get down to, so we're shallow. So this got really euphoric. This iShares US Tech Independence got an intermediate wave 3 at 71.29 and an intermediate wave 4 next. Beyond that at 64.88. Now I'm going to do my best to try and teach you guys as much about Elliott wave as I can. So we're above the breakout, which is productive. Good. Wouldn't be surprised if we back test that a little bit. So I'm going to throw an alert up there. See it on info. I'm going to alert. All right. So back below 57.76. I want to look at it again. Our trend support. We're going to here again how I've talked about using trend support lines as your stops. All right. So obviously there was a trend line here, a trend line here. It broke. Then we need to consider whether we're holding, we want to drill down and look. But right now we have an internal trend support channel here, and I just use this extend tool so I can line it up. Being ADHT, even though I really don't think I'm close. I can't handle quick. I just can't handle. What can I say? It's what it is. We just deal with it. So I spend a lot of time fixing the line. All right, so a break below 51.44, that means our trend support is broken. That's my trend support that I'm trading now based on this leg. So, obviously I'm going to extend that out in time. We're going to take a picture of this one. IETC. It'll be in chat. Now, we do not have a daily trigger on this one. Is so aggressive that we don't have it. I'm working on my chart. We're chatting. Let me see if I got that right. Yep. All right. So our breakout line, we are going to get back above that as well. And actually, I don't have something on this because it's probably busy. So our original breakout line was here. And here again, these stair step legs, the idea is to really identify them so you know when to stay in a trade, when to get the heck out. And, here we have an internal trend line here. Now, why did I use the third higher or lower high? Anyone? I know you can't answer me, but anyone? Post it in chat. I want to see if anybody understands that. And we'll explain it after you post. I'll give you a hint. Low overshoot. Overshoots can happen at any leg, but still, notice how consistent this candle was with a low, right? And then our next candle here is low. And then we got a little euphoric, and then we broke trend. So, my basic rule is the second low. So that is there. It's there, but there's also an internal line, which is much more important to me, which right here, we're about ready to get back above that. Gets much more bullish. I like this look, just collectively. RSI had a nice structure to the bottom. We're going to print this one as well. This one is another good looking chart. Let's look at MSI, Motorola. Why do I have Motorola here? I don't know. Maybe I stuck it. I don't think it's part of that. I don't think it's a global trend ETF. No, I don't think it is. I might be losing my mind here. We're going to cover it anyways because it's here. All right. So our next entry long will be down here at 290, even with this euphoric look, because we're going to put in our 3 here. So that's a good spot for some covered calls if you have Motorola. All right. Now I'm not going to print that one. So make your notes if you like that look. If you have some common shares in Motorola. So I'm actually a good comment for you to hold here. Look at the way this thing looks way the heck out here. Look at that leg up. Look at that bell. It's a beautiful thing. Now we're going to have when we get up to about 335, so about 15, 20 bucks more, we're going to have a nice pullback to 268. So this is kind of a swing, but look at how far out we're going, way out in time. That's 2024, 2025, 2026, 27, and that's probably realistic. But with this slope, let me throw a caveat here, and I'm drilling down a little more than I planned on it, but hey, it's what it is. The chart's telling me, I hear these noises, these voices are talking to me. They're telling me, hey, this is what is going on. So we have got, and typically, same slope as your, if you start way down here like this, you want your slope to look like that, right? Okay. So since our slope is here, we want it to match to the upside. Again, another form of equality. a look. So, 340.50 is totally viable on this look. Let's look at Moses. It's in trouble. Can't say otherwise. Our downside is, I don't know what the heck's going on in cannabis, but, our breakdown, which is going to confirm this, I always can be wrong, but the RSI structure doesn't let me down very often, so we get back below this low breakdown line at 510, then we got a problem. Now, I know Kirk just bought PBW, but we're going to be looking for a top up here. Really, our three's not in. So, our challenging part here is what this 4 does here. So we're going to just go back and forth in this range. Basically, you can come in here. And just for being quick, I'm not going to be precise here. I'm just going to say this is our resistance band, the upside, and obviously our low here at band. We'll just go to the gap. Just trying to be quick in doing this so it doesn't take us forever. We got a few charts still to go through. All right, so we basically are between this 35.62 and this $25. So we should stay in that range, I would think, here for a while, out to January 24. So the upside here is we're going to come in and put this 3, then we put our 5, then we come in and put our 4 in off of that minor wave 5 at 30.90. Then we head back down to our 5 at 22.91. We got some significant downside, I think, once we get up above the 50 days. So keep that in mind. Be conscious of that. Make sure you ask me to take another look at that. I'm not going to print this one because it's not, even though it has immediate, no, actually, you know what? Kirk's going to tell me to print it. So let's go to weekly. Let's look at this. Let me finish it because he bought it. So our intermediate wave 4. Now I do like it there for some cash secured puts. And then our next target gets up quite a little bit to about 43. So that would be our target 1, our look there. So, it's challenging here. We got $4 lower after this push to 30. So there's better setups for me in my thinking. Just because it's going to be challenging to trade that to the bottom. So, but we're going to print this and say, hey, this is what it is. You folks can do what you want with it. Actually, our 5 is going to be way the heck down here. Now we're going to go on this, sell some puts. So 22, so $8 higher. So realize we got one more low coming in here. So it takes a couple minutes to do this the right way. I got something. What do I got there? I'm going to go and measure it from the lower $17. Okay, so we're going to print PBW. What I like clean, so if it doesn't look clean to me, I think it makes it much more challenging. Now, we did get a breakout this week on the Qs, on the NASDAQ here. Boy, that sort of confirms to the upside, doesn't it? And our target is way the heck up here. What I got an alert. Wave 3 is the shortest wave, telling me that something is not the theory in what we're seeing. So we're going to update this after I get this done and see what it tells us. Doesn't change anything. A lot of resistance up here on the NASDAQ. A lot of resistance. I need to change those. Those are supposed to be blue. Sometimes I don't know why I do this. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with my HDH thing, whatever it is, because that's going to bother me now. It's going to distract me all the way through the rest of the chart. Okay, we got it done. I'm going to leave this down here because it's going to still bother me, but it won't be bothering me as much as this. I lied. I have to change it. When I saw it, distracting for me. Must have been during margarita. Okay, save. So we have the Qs, PBW and the Qs. Maybe a little bounce here. 59 is going to be your exit or sell some covered calls. That's a decent move. I don't know what your cost is, cost average there, but some covered calls there. I'd sell a little higher, say 65, just to round it up. I'm going to go ahead and print TAN. If you have a position on, just manage it. I'm not really saying add a position here with that look, but that's still a decent move. If you have to have a blend of something, depending on what your theme is. Can I print that? I better print it. Okay, so we are back above our breakout line. We have a new primary wave setup. We don't have a daily trigger yet. We got a 90-minute on there. I do not like that 90-minute count now that I'm seeing it here. This is a minor wave that we're showing on the 90-minute back down to 80.71. This is why time frames are important. Actually, it's 82.15 after I played around with the data, so it's a minor wave A. For some reason, it's not measuring it correctly. All right, we're just going to pull it off, go with the weekly. So we've got our 90-minute trigger on our primary wave setup. Now, this is our third step, which, by the way, typically it's 3, 4, and then we get some kind of back test, but that's a pretty solid wave there, that uptrend. Here again, trend support. It's an overshoot on wave 3, so I'm going to leave it there, or drive 3, excuse me. All right, we got quite a few names to go through still. So I'm going to end for today, only because I wanted to try and keep it to 10 names. This is probably a little bit longer than our last couple of videos, but we're looking for a target on XMHQ. I'll print that as well and put that in the room. So I think we're going to post 12 charts, 11 charts, and looking for 92 on our primary wave 3. And then of course, we have this broadening pattern on top of that. I don't know if you guys have started to see the MO, with that, but that's what I have for this week, folks. Great trading. Until next time.